This is Weathering the Storm, your local weather authority special report.
Spring is in full swing. That means severe weather is an ongoing threat. Today we'll show you how to weather the storm. Welcome to Weathering the Storm. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Yates.
And I'm Meteorologist Rainson. One thing we can count on here in central Illinois is that severe weather and strong storms are a constant part of life.
And that includes everything from flooding to tornadoes. Now, over the next half hour, we'll take a look at the potential weather threats and what your local weather authority are doing to keep you and your family safe. Now, let's start and take a look at what makes these fascinating storms develop. Now, there are 4 basic ingredients required for severe storms. Now, the first thing you need is instability. An environment becomes unstable when you have warm temperatures at the surface and cooler temperatures aloft. Now, since warm air is less dense than cool air, it will rise. Now, as this happens, the air will expand, cool, and condense into water droplets, forming clouds. This process will continue, creating tall, cumuliform clouds that will evolve into thunderstorms. Now, the next ingredient for severe storms is wind shear. Wind shear is defined as wind changing direction and speed with height. Without this, it's unlikely a storm will become severe. Now, in the ideal setup, you'll have southeasterly winds at the surface and a powerful jet stream aloft moving from the west and southwest. As thunderstorms develop within this highly sheared environment, they will begin to tilt and rotate, allowing them to become severe. Now, another ingredient that will help storms develop is lift. This often comes in the form of fronts and outflow boundaries across central Illinois. Now, as a cold front moves through the region, warm, moist air at the surface will be lifted up by the front, and this rising air will aid in the development of thunderstorms. Now, the final and perhaps one of the most important ingredients is moisture. Without moisture, instability could be limited, making it difficult for storms to develop. Now, moisture often increases ahead of a developing storm system. Southerly winds help bring that moisture northward from the Gulf of Mexico, giving storms the fuel they need to develop. Lauren?
Thanks, Chris. Although not all severe thunderstorms produce tornadoes, tornadoes are one of the biggest severe weather threats. Tornado intensity is ranked on the enhanced Fujita scale. The scale ranks tornadoes according to their damage and estimated maximum wind speed. An EF0 tornado is the weakest on the enhanced Fujita scale with wind speeds of 65 to 85 miles per hour. And the strongest tornado is an EF5 with wind speeds of 200 miles per hour and greater. Even though EF4 and EF5 tornadoes are the most deadly, they only account for about 1% of all tornadoes. Chief Meteorologist Chris Yates breaks down the tornado statistics for central Illinois.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Well, while tornadoes can occur any time of year if the conditions are right, they are most common in Illinois in late spring and early summer. Now, I've gone back and take a look at the tornado stats for Illinois. Now, on an average, the state actually receives about 51 tornadoes a year. However, we tend to peak through the months of April, May, and June. In fact, May seems to be the busiest month. That's when we average about 15 tornadoes hitting the state each year. Now, during the summer months, the amount of tornadoes begins to decrease, and that's due to the fact that the jet stream gets to retreat northward throughout the warm months. Now, you'll notice there's a slight uptick as we get into the month of November. This is what is known as our second season. Now, as the jet stream drops back south for the winter, we start to see a little bit more wind shear. Now, I've gone through and broken down by county the number of tornadoes to impact central Illinois from 1950 to 2014. Peoria County has only seen 20 tornadoes. However, we do see significantly more storms as you get out into Tazewell, Logan, and McLean counties. In fact, McLean County has seen over 100 tornadoes between 1950 and 2014. Now, a few weeks ago, I broke down how these storms develop. Take a look. Tornadoes are some of Mother Nature's most fascinating weather phenomena. It also is a pretty deadly one. So let's take a look at how thunderstorms, particularly tornadic thunderstorms, develop across the Midwest. It all starts with wind shear. We've got wind blowing in all different directions, especially this time of year. Now, when we talk about severe weather and in particular thunderstorms, we really want to see how much those winds are changing in direction and speed with height. So at the surface, we'll have some southeasterly winds bringing in some moisture off the Gulf of Mexico. We'll also have a powerful low-level jet, typically with a south or southwesterly wind. But let's get up to the jet stream. This is about 25 to 35,000 feet up in elevation. And notice it is streaming out of the west. So we've got the ingredients in place where the air is now turning and the wind is changing direction and speed with height. And what happens is we start seeing the air spin a little bit. We get these horizontal rolls developing early in the afternoon. In fact, we can see this happening several days out in advance, which is why we are able to forecast that conditions are right for the development of tornadoes. So we get this directional shear creating spinning on a horizontal axis. But now the atmosphere is becoming a bit unstable. That warm air is starting to rise. It's starting to cool and condense into clouds. And eventually we start to develop these thunderstorms. And if this rotation is strong enough, if the rotation is tight enough, and if this can spin fast enough, we can occasionally be on the lookout for some thunderstorms. Thankfully, we can often predict days in advance when the conditions are right for storms, but we can't pinpoint where those storms will develop until perhaps several minutes, or even maybe, if we're lucky, a few hours in advance.
While thinking of severe weather, thunderstorms and tornadoes often come to mind, but few remember the dangers of flooding in central Illinois. National Weather Service meteorologist Ed Shimon says that more people die from flooding right here in central Illinois than from tornadoes.
It does happen quite often, and a lot of times it happens at night.
Determining the depth of water over a flooded area is difficult enough in daylight. Add darkness to the mix, and the risks increase exponentially.
At night, it's very difficult to see the depth of any water on the road, and a lot of times just a sheen on the road could actually be an actual deep water situation or water flowing across roads. So many of our deaths that occur in flash flooding actually occur at night.
Too many people underestimate the power of water. If you ever encounter a flooded road,
Just think about, what's it worth, and it's not worth losing your car, your life, or anything valuable like your family in the car.
really, staying safe out on the roads is quite simple.
But you want to make sure that if there are typical flooded areas, you just avoid them altogether, or just be extra alert for water that's on the roadway that you may not be able to tell how deep it is.
Be smart, be patient, and remember that nothing is worth a life.
All right, now it's one of the most powerful forces in nature. But what exactly do you know about lightning? We'll take a look at what's true and what's not coming up.
Did you know that the United States averages 1,201 tornadoes a year? Only 0.1% of tornadoes are rated EF5, but they are to blame for 20% of tornado-related deaths. We'll be right back.